folks, this is Ken with Kenjutsu Bring It to Life, and today I wanted to start what is it, the hidden blade from Assassin's Creed, that wrist blade that projects. Let's go ahead and get into Blender. I haven't done anything yet, so we're starting completely from scratch. Since we're making a prop, we won't need the light or camera, so I'm going to left click on that and then shift left click on this camera to add it to my selection. Right click and then delete. And then I'm going to go over here and hit this Y over here so we can get this camera orientation. We might actually use the cube this time, so the next thing I'm going to do is go over here to scene, and then I'm going to go to units, and length we're going to go to millimeters, since that's what our 3D printers are going to use, so that'll give us a more accurate read on what we're doing. The next thing I'm going to do is Shift A to open this menu, and then I'm going to go down here to image and then reference, and then I'm going to look up where I put that reference image of the hidden blade. Here we go. All right, actually, let's go ahead and delete this. Well, no. What I want to do now is go up here to this arrow. No, go into edit mode. And then we have this arrow, and then we'll go into edge links. To get into edit mode, I hit tab. So we go object mode, which we start in, and then tab to go into edit mode, and this is vertices mode. So we can pick on these little vertices over here, and then we can hit 2 to go into edge mode, and then 1 to go back into vertices mode, and then 3 to go into faces mode. And these are all on the num strip on the top, not the num pad. So we got these faces, and we're going to go back, well, we can do it this way. I'm going to hit A to select all, and then I measured this before, so I want the hmm, the kind of base of the wrist blade, the thing that contains it, to be about 35 millimeters wide. So we're gonna hit S to scale, and then I'm gonna roll in with the mouse just to shrink this a bit to that 35 millimeters that we want. And this will vary, you know what I mean? Smaller people will need something smaller, bigger people will need something bigger, but I think this will work for me. So 35, and then I'm going to go into object mode with tab, and then I'm going to select our reference image, and I'm going to hit S, just like we did for the cube, and shrink it down. And there. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. I'm holding control to get the degree measurements to shift in 5-degree increments, otherwise it's kind of free. So we're going to go over to 90 degrees, and we're basically going to make it like this. So let's just overlay it here. Actually, scale it up a bit so these wall size kind of matches our cube's dimensions. Scaling it up again, and I'm going to go over here and hit X-ray mode up here so we can see right through our cube. That way we can scale it a bit more accurately. And it probably won't mimic all this exactly, especially since we have like leather coverings here and I can't really see it. And honestly, I don't think we're gonna need anything fancy. I'm definitely not gonna do leather. I think we're just gonna do maybe some elastic bands that go through it and attach, because I know that leather doesn't breathe. I also don't have any leather, and I don't think it'd be very comfortable. So for this cube, I'm going to go into edit mode with tab. Oh, first let's move this reference image back a bit. So I'm going to click on it in object mode, hit G to grab, and then Y to move along the Y axis. And I'm just going to push it back a bit so we have some room in between that and our cube. And then we're going to go back to our cube, and I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to go vertices mode with 1. I'm going to grab these top vertices. Since we have X-ray mode, I managed to grab all 4 of them. And I'm going to hit GZ to push it up along that Z axis and just push it up. So we have a longer, well, not a cube anymore, a rectangle. And then we're going to go down and do similarly to these with GZ again, and then I'm going to pull it down around here-ish. And I think, I don't know if these are part of it. I don't think they are. I think these are just strappy things to hold it all in place. So from here, I think we're going to widen it. It looks like it widens, unless this is part of it. I think these are straps that go around the forearm, and I think this is actually the object itself. So with that in mind, I'm gonna go ahead and select all these edges in edge mode, which is just two, which is two on the num strip. And I'm gonna right click, subdivide. So now we have this edge loop over here. I went back into vertices mode, but we can go back into edges mode and select all of those. And then we're going to bring them down because it looks like with GZ, we're going to bring it down like so because it looks like there's this diagonal bit here. And I think we're going to just make it symmetrical rather than worrying about it being off center and such because I don't know what purpose that serves. So in order to get this other one, we're gonna go back and get these edges. Right click and subdivide again. And then we're going to, let's get these. I'm gonna set my pivot point up here to medium. It's already medium, that's good. And then I'm going to hit S for scale and then X to move along the X axis. And since it's medium point, it's moving from the middle point of these two selected bits. And we're going to go over here to widen that up about where it wants to be. Then I'm going to get these vertices up here, again, X-ray mode, so we got all of them. And I'm going to hit GZ to move this up a bit. And that, I think, fits our general shape that we're looking for. Had this circular bit. Mm, I guess we can put it right here in the middle. I actually want it on this side. I'm in faces mode now with 3, so I can select my faces easily. And we're gonna go ahead and hit F3, put cursor to active. That way when we hit Shift A and create a circle to make that shape, it'll appear right on our 3D cursor there. First thing we're going to need to do is shrink this down a bit. Let's say 30 millimeters, see where that gets us. Let's get rid of the edge loops, the edge links so we can see a little clearer. And I'm going to hit R. Well, first I'm going to actually increase the vertices. Let's say 64, because right now at 32, it's not too bad, but it has some angles here you can see, and we can eliminate a bit of those by increasing our vertices by 2 times. So I'm going to go with 64, make a little rounder circle there. And then we are going to hit R to rotate and then X to rotate along the X axis. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So we got this. I'm again holding control so we can go up in 5-degree increments. 90 degrees. Let's go ahead and hit S for scale, and then we'll shrink it down to about this size or so. And this circle's just going to be decoration, but we're going to put it on there anyway. So let's hit tab to go into, wait, are we already in edit mode? Yes, we are. All right, so let's go into vertices. And then it looks like it protrudes a little bit. So I'm going to hit E to extrude and then Y to extrude along the Y axis. And we're going to go up just a tiny bit. You know what? I want edges mode back on, edge lengths back on, so we can see just how long this is. And I'm going to put it at just about 2 millimeters. Oh, and we can see that if we zoom in too close, we start clipping into the object, which is a little awkward. So in order to negate that, we'll go to this tiny little arrow over here, go to View, and then where it says Clip Start, we'll put in 0.1 from 10 millimeters to 0.1. That way when we zoom in, it doesn't clip immediately. Gives us a little clearer picture of what we're doing here. I'm going to hit GY and put that along 2 millimeters exactly. And looks like we go inward then. So I'm going to hit E to extrude again and then hit S for scale and bring it in just a bit to create this little rim here. And it's difficult to tell what exactly is going on, but I'm going to make it a little fancy by hitting E again to extrude, S for scale, bring it in at one more time. And then I'm going to hit faces mode, 3 for faces mode, and I'm going to hit hold Alt and right click on this face loop over here. Wait, yeah, we can do it this way. Then I'm going to go into 2 with edges mode with 2, and then I'm going to hold Alt and Shift, and then I'm going to left click on these two edge loops. That way we just got these guys, this ring of these guys, and I'm going to right click and then subdivide. Alright, so now we have an additional edge loop in here. I'm going to click on it with Alt left click, and then I'm going to hit G, Y, and then I'm going to put it inward just a little bit to give it a rim. Let's see if we can see that a little clearer, just like this. And then I'm going to take this edge loop and raise it up a bit. Do we want to do that? I think I'm going to hit E instead to extrude. Then I'll raise that instead. Let's say it's 1 millimeter. And we can go, no, we didn't actually create a face in there, so that's fine. And then I'm going to hit that edge loop that we just made, hit F to create a face over it, like so. And then let's see, now we have this boss to put in there. So let's go into faces mode with 3, and then I'm going to right click on this face. I'm going to go to inset face. So now we can make a face within a face. And then I'm going to hit S to scale that down, a little more control there. And let's say it's this big, around there. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm going to pull it out with Y along the Y axis. And let's hit E again to extrude once more. And then we have that center point. We can hit E once more, hit Y to go along the Y axis, and then pull that out a bit like so. And then in order to round it, I'm going to hit S on this edge loop to shrink it down just a bit. Let's go out of X-ray mode so we can see what we're doing. And then I'm going to right click. Oh, no. I'm going to go into edge mode. We're in faces mode right now. Yeah, faces, edge, vertice. So we go into edge, and then I'm going to right click and bevel the edges. Then I'm going to drag the mouse out a bit, and then we'll roll up on the mouse wheel to give us some more bevel. Rolling down gives us less. And we're just going to create enough to make that nice and round. So I think that's what we're going for. And I think that's good for the boss. Now I want to round out some of these edges here because I do not like sharp edges, especially when they're close to skin, because that makes it uncomfortable to wear when these sharp edges rub against you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on all these edges. So to do that, I'm going to hold Alt, left click, then Alt Shift left click, and then Alt Shift left click again. And then I'll right click with all those edges selected and bevel the edges. We don't need that much, so I'm rolling down on the mouse wheel. And now all those little bits are rounded, looking pretty decent. Alright, so that's good for that little decoration there. So I think we should start on the edge. Now, originally I was thinking the whole thing would be set on a spring that's held with tension, and then you release that tension and the whole blade comes out, but it looks like it's actually, the blade is split in between these two sections. Maybe this kind of sheath bit that goes in here as well, and then the blade goes in there, so that way there's two sections of it. And that does allow the blade to be a lot longer. So I think that's what we'll do. And you can see it looks like they've changed the design over time, or maybe just different styles for different eras or different countries. This one's got like 3 prongs in it. Alright. But I feel like this one's been the most prominent that I've seen. So I think we'll stick with this one with the diagonal bit there. So my idea for this is since it is split like that, I don't think the spring is going to be the way to go. I'm thinking magnets instead. That way there's basically two sets of magnets, one that has it retracted and then one when you flip it out, it'll be extended. And so those magnets will help lock it into place. I think that'll work. I mean, I haven't done this yet, so everything's kind of experimental. We're testing things out here. So what we're going to do is, first of all, let's thin this out a bit. I'm going to go into vertices mode, go on X-ray mode, and then I'm going to collect all these vertices over here, and then I'm going to hit G to grab, and then Y to move along the Y-axis, and I'm going to push this in a bit. And how wide do we want it? Since we do have those two sections, I'm gonna get my calipers and see how wide that is. Mm, 20 millimeters isn't bad, so it's a little wide, but I think it'll be okay. So G, Y, and then I'm gonna put it at 20. Now I'm thinking we want that, this part in here that's going to need to slide freely up and down there. So, let's see. We want to get as much length as we can while also keeping the walls thick enough to be durable. So what I'm going to do is make a little measurement here. I'm going to hit E and then X so we can extrude this vertice along the x-axis. Then I'm going to hit E again with that vertice selected and then Z to bring it down. But we need snap active for this point. So snap turns on and then we're going to switch over to active and vertex. That way this one, when we hit G, Z again, it'll snap right here and that'll give us the length of this one, which is 155 millimeters at the moment. So with that, let's go in here and what's the best way to do something like this? I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate this face. I'm in faces mode right now. Now you can tell by which one's lit up here. Vertices, edges, faces. So I'm going to hit G, Z, grab, and then move along the Z axis. And then I'm going to hit S to scale it down a bit. So from 20 millimeters here and 35 millimeters here, that's maybe 4 millimeters minimum. So from 20, let's go down to 16. And we got substantially more on that side. Because that was 35, now it's 28. So let's see. It's not a bad thickness for that part, and then the blade will be just a bit thinner. So I think that'll probably work. Okay. So with that, we're actually going to want to make a hole in here for this to slide into. So I'm going to get rid of this face, click on that, and then right clicking, and then delete face. And then we are going to I just clicked on this in vertices mode and hit L to select the whole thing, and then Shift D to duplicate, and then we're going to drag that down here. So we now have this face, but this face needs to be a little larger. It needs to be 0.5 millimeters larger. That way the parts actually slide against each other, because if we made the hole this big, it would just bump into it and we wouldn't get any of that, that retraction and extension. So in order to get that going, let's go ahead and I'm in edges mode. I'm going to select this edge and hit GX to drag it out maybe zero point 0.7 rather than 0.5 just to give it that tiny bit more wiggle room. And then we're going to do similarly over here, GX, And then we're going to go up to, what is it, 29.4 to add another 0.5 millimeters. And then we need to do the same over here. GY this time. And we're going up to 30.1. Oh, no, this value, not that value. 16.7. And then 17.4 over here. And that seems really thin. You know what? Instead of shrinking that value, let's go ahead and shrink this value. So G, Y, and we'll go down to 15.3. And then 15.3 minus 0.7 would be 14.6. Let's go down there. That way, this one should be able to slide in there without touching the sides. So we're reducing the friction. That way they can fit nicely. That should be enough. That should be enough. Okay. So then we can just attach some faces here. In edge mode, I'm going to select these two faces and hit F to put a face there, put a face there, put a face there, put a face there. And then we'll take these edges, holding shift and left clicking. Is that a face? Do we need a face? I don't think we need a face there. Let's collect those edges, and then I'm going to hit E to extrude, and then Z to extrude straight downward. And I'm hitting G to grab it every time I lose it, and then hitting Z and pulling it down. Now, we don't want to hit all the way down, though. Oh, because we don't want it to be hollow. We want it to actually have a back so it doesn't just slide out the back. Let's get a measuring tool here. We know this is 155, right? So let's give it 10 millimeters. So I'm going to raise this with GZ to 145. And then since we still have snap on, I'm going to gather this edge loop with Alt left click. And I'm going to hit GZ and then snap it to that. That way we have 10 millimeters of clearance on this back wall here. And this will then need to be 145. So let's go ahead and collect this face up here and then hit E for extrude and then Z. Hit Z twice because I think it already was going down. And then we'll stretch it down to 145. Actually 144. That way it sits inside of this and doesn't stick out the top any. So with that, we can click on one of these vertices and hit L to select the whole thing. And then when we slide it down as far as it'll go, it should stop there while still being almost entirely concealed, if not entirely concealed. Because then it'll hit that back wall that we just made. And that should be, yeah, that should be concealed in there. Okay, so it is indeed a hidden blade. Right, from then, I'm going to hit Control Z because we don't really need to move it down like that. And then Control Shift Z is to redo, so we can get back to the steps. And, well, this is fine. Alright, so I think next I want to separate this because these will be printed as two different objects. So let's hit P when we have that selected and separate selection. That way it is now its own object, and we can even name these objects. So I'm going to name the main part, I'm going to call this base. I'm going to double click over here on it, call that base, and then that that middle piece there, I guess we'll just call that mid. And then the next part will be our blade. So we're going to basically do the same thing to cut out a little hole in there for the blade. So I'm going to go into edit mode, faces mode, and then I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate this face. And then I'm going to shrink it down a bit. Let's see. Now, since it is a blade, It doesn't need to be nearly as wide. So with S, Y, we're going to shrink it down a bit. I want to get my calipers to see how wide this is because we don't need it to be super sharp. We're just making a toy here. So I'm going to say 7 millimeters should be okay. Okay, so we will shrink that down to 7 millimeters. Uh, and G, no, S, Y, 7 millimeters. Okay. And then because my OCD tells me this needs to be a rounded number, I'm going to hit S, X, and get that to 23. Let's see how thick this wall is. I'm gonna click on this vertex and hit E, and then X, and then with snap still on, we can see that is a little under 2.5. I'm gonna check the calipers again. I think that will be thick enough of a wall to be able to contain the blade without being too fragile. So I think that'll be all right. And if that's all right, then this should be just fine too. Mm, mm. Oh yeah, but the blade actually has to be smaller than this section here. So we don't have to reduce the thickness of the blade. I'm gonna go ahead and widen this by hitting S for scale and then Y so we can stretch this along the Y axis. I want to go to 8. And then we're going to keep this dimension the same, 23 and 8. So I'm going to hit Shift D now. So that first part will be for the hole that we need to create for the blade, and this part will be the blade itself. So it has to be a little smaller than that. So we're going to go back down to 7 for this value, SY. That way it has 0.5 millimeters of space on both sides, which should be plenty. I need to go down a little bit more. Scale Y, and then 7. And then for this value, scale X, and then let's go down to 22. And just to give it a little bit of wiggle room so they're not brushing up against each other too much, let's go ahead and give it 0.4 millimeters of clearance. So they should move smoothly and loosely without having to worry about the parts rubbing against each other and causing friction and slowing down the projection and needing more force for that. Just make it easier. So this will be the blade. We can go ahead and extend that a little bit. Extrude and then hit G. Extrude and hit Z twice. Start going up. That'll be the blade. We'll worry about that in a minute. But first, let's go ahead and take care of this. Is that a face? It is a face. We don't need it to be a face. So let's get rid of that face by hitting X and then only face. And then we will collect all those edges and hit F to put a face between them, F to put a face between them, F, F. And then we'll take these edge loops and just like before, we'll extend downward to create a nice recess for that blade. We still got snap selected, so I hit GZ and it auto snapped to the very base of the hole, but we don't want it to go all the way down. We want to give it some clearance. So we're going to go up. Let's see, we're at 144 right now. So with GZ, I'm going to go up to 134. Just to give it that 10 millimeters like we did with the main base there. So that'll be our recess for the blade. And we can hit F to put a face there. I forgot if we put a face on the bottom of this one. Let's go ahead and check. Yeah, it doesn't look like it, so I'm going to collect these vertices here and hit F. That way we have that back there. And you know what? I'm going to hit A to select all and then Shift N to recalculate normals. So if you don't know, normals tell Blender which faces are facing outward from an object versus inward. It mostly affects shading when you're doing Not really, doesn't have anything to do with props, but 3D printers struggle if you don't have your normals calculated. So it's a good idea to have that going every now and again. So we're going to do the same thing on this object, our kind of sheath object. I'm going to hit A, Shift, and recalculate those normals. And so now we have our kind of middle part here. So now let's focus on the blade. I'm going to select one of these vertices, hit L to select all of them that they're attached to, and then P, and then selection, and now we separated it into its own object. So in object mode, I'm going to go over here, double click, and we'll call that blade, just so we know what's what. And then, mm, 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 mm. So if this inside part was 134, then this part, I guess, will be 124 to keep up with that length, taking away 10 each time. So 124, I just selected those and then GZ and stretched it out a bit. All right, and to create this edge, or the kind of feather tip there, I'm going to select these two edges, these opposite edges, right click and then subdivide, and then I have to collect these opposite edges here, and then I'm going to GZ, drag them down a bit like so, and down a little bit more. And then with in edges mode, we're going to right click and then I'm going to bevel those edges. And we can increase the bevel a bit, get us nice rounded edges and a sharp point that we will be beveling. Yeah, because we don't need too sharp a point. Let's bevel that down considerably. No, I think that'll probably print relatively rounded. That should do. Okay, this is a sheath object, so let's stretch this guy out here just to see how long we got our blade. Where's the blade? There it is. GZ. And it's comparable. It's not going to go all the way out because it's going to sit with these magnets sticking with it, so yeah, that's a respectable length. That should do about what we want. Okay, so before I do the magnets, I'm going to go ahead and take a little break, and we will get back to it in just a sec. We're back, and so while I was on break, I came to the conclusion that we're going to need to make a couple of changes to this design. Because first, if everything slides together, what's going to stop it from sliding apart when you flip it out? So I think we're going to use some rims along these parts here, along with our magnets, because the magnets aren't going to be super strong, because we're going to need them weak enough to let them flip out freely, but also strong enough to hold them in place when you don't want it flipped out or closed. So, and then also, if we put those rims in place, how are we then going to slide the pieces together? So, I have an idea, a couple of ideas on how I want to do this. So, let's see. I think maybe we can start with the blade, or should we start... Because this is fairly thin here. I just hit E on that vertice, G, and then Y, so we can get this measurement. And that's only 2 millimeters. That's not a lot of room to play with. So, and this is 7 millimeters wide. So that's plenty wide enough for a blade. So I'm thinking we can actually shrink this a bit and then get a rim going down here. So what I'm going to do is take these edges and mm, actually, mm, let's take it up here with GZ, and then we will extrude outward a bit here. And that will kind of be our catch, or the beginnings of our catch, so the blade doesn't go flying out when you fling it. So what we're going to need to do is collect everything here, and then we're going to hit scale, and then Y, and then we're going to shrink it from 7 to maybe 5. We can give a single millimeter of a rim. So hmm, let's make sure our pivot point is still set to medium. I'm going to hit E to extrude. Oh, that's still clicked on. Okay, E to extrude, G, and then Y. Move. G, Y, and since snap is still on up here, we snapped right to that vertex. So what I'm going to do now is extend this about a millimeter wide, like so. And then we'll do the same thing to the other side. E, Y, snap that on there. And let's get these vertices. And then one G, Y, we'll drag it out 1 millimeter. Okay, so this should still fit in here easily enough. So I'm thinking we'll print a catch separately. So when we put in the blade, then we'll put in the catch. That way this area will catch on that catch, and it won't go flying out when we project our blade. And then the catch can have the magnet on it. That probably sounds confusing, but you'll see, you'll see. So I'm clicking on this face over here in faces mode, which is 3, and I'm going to hit X and get rid of that face. Then I'm going to get these vertices for our catch, and then I'm going to extend it, I think about 10 millimeters. I think was where we wanted that. Alright, so then we might have to widen this a little bit. Or, I don't really want it to leave this open so that when we assemble it, we can put the blade in the back, and then we can print it with the catch that way. But if that's the case, then it might fall back into this part and get stuck in there. So I don't think that's going to be the way we go with this one. So I'm thinking we'll have to print the catch separately and then glue it into place after we put the blade in there. Yeah, I think that'll be what we end up doing. So now we have to make that. So let's, how wide is this? G, Y, G, Y, G, Y. Okay, Control Z, E, G, Y. Why aren't you moving? G, Y, snap. So now we have this measurement, okay. And in order to print the catch, there's not a ton of room here. I'm going to do the same thing, just getting measurements here. Here, these aren't going to be part of the whole thing, but 2.4 isn't much room to work with. And so I'm thinking maybe the blade could be a bit thinner. So I went over to this object, went into edit mode, and now I'm thinking hit scale, and then X, and then we'll kind of shrink it down a bit. Is that what I want to do? Not really, but I do believe we need that catch. Because right now the blade should fit in there. And because of that, how wide is this again? That's 1 millimeter. Hmm. Mm, hmm. I'm thinking the printed catch would be super, super thin, which leads me to believe it's not going to be terribly strong. Hmm. Although, instead of having the catch go all the way around, we could potentially just have it maybe on the sides, or maybe just these sides and not do these. Hmm. At all. Hmm. So if we did that, we just have to widen this area. Since these go all the way down, I'm going to click on these two faces here, and then we're going to, with median point as our pivot point, I'm going to turn off snap. As our pivot point, I'm going to hit S for scale, and then X, oh no, S for scale, and then Y, and then widen this up a bit, because we do have some room. Wait, where is it now? Scale Y. We're at 3.29 millimeters. So we can extend that a bit, say to 2.5. And then we can separately print a catch that we can glue in here to catch on this lip. That way it won't just fling out. Think that's what we will end up doing. Let's see how far this is from that bit there. Gotta get snap back on. GY. And whoops. GY. I didn't even see what the measurement was. 2.9. So maybe 1.5? Catch like this on both sides. Hmm. Extend it. Hmm. Alright, so it needs to be at least 0.5, so 1 point, maybe 6? I mean, we are at fractions of a millimeter, and this will probably need to be tested, because sometimes when you print stuff, you know, it comes out a tiny, tiny bit wider, or even thinner, or maybe it deforms, because this is going to be so thin. So you can't always predict how things are going to go, but we're going to do our best. I'm going to go ahead and... But if this catch is here like this, then it won't be able to go all the way out like that, but that shouldn't be too big of a problem. So I'm gonna, with this edge selected, I'm gonna hit Shift D to duplicate it. I'm gonna hit GZ to bring it up just a little bit. And we're gonna take off, let's say 0.5, well, let's just take off a full millimeter off that length. That way it can actually fit in here. And we'll say this will be, say 5 millimeters. And then what was it, 1.7? 0.7. Boop. And then we'll extrude, snap, and then we'll close these faces up here. And then hit F to close those faces with those edges selected. Hit F, and now we got what will hopefully be our stopper. So I'm going to hit Shift N with everything selected to recalculate those normals just in case. And I'm going to select this, hit P, separate selection, and then we will call this blade stopper. And then we'll just print two of those guys and glue them in here. So with this, like this, the blade should not be able to pass past those, so when we flick it out, it won't go flying off. So that should solve that little problem. And next, I think magnets. How do we want to do the magnets? So I got these really tiny magnets that I'm going to use, and their dimensions, let's check the hole size, 4.5 millimeters and 1.3 millimeters. So where do I want to put these? I was thinking back here behind the stoppers, but that would be really hard to actually get into. So maybe on the stoppers and then on the blade, so the magnets can oh, hmm. That reminds me, speaking of hard to get to, how are we going to put the stoppers as the magnets back here? Hmm, because there's literally no way we're going to get our fingers back here. So, that is a little bit of a pickle. I guess we can put the magnets straight through it, but that wouldn't be very strong. Does it need to be though? Can't put it on the back, because then how are we going to stop it up here? So it has to be on the sides. Let's go ahead and line this up just for the hell of it. Um, hmm, 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 hmm. If we do that, I really don't want to have a hole back here, but I can't see any other way unless I want to put magnets up here, which I don't really want to do because that would kind of mess with the look of the blade. Because if we have magnets for this up here, and then we had magnets over here, and then at the top of the blade, when it's in, the top of the blade's magnets could stick up here. But then, of course, you're going to have magnets sticking out of the blade, which doesn't look terribly cool. So, how wide is this again? 2.5, so we could stick them in there. Theoretically. We might put like a stopper printed and stick the magnets all the way through. I don't really like that idea, but it might be all we got. And this would be something I haven't actually done before. Oh, considering, trying to see the downsides and upsides. Well, I guess the first thing we gotta do is put some magnets up here. And that's gonna have to be under here, which is gonna be tricky to fit through, but as long as we don't glue these in place too early, we should be able to maybe get some tweezers and place those magnets in here on both sides. So what I'm gonna do now, to get those magnets in place, I'm gonna right click on this guy and set origin to geometry. Get the origin close to that, and I'm going to hit F3, cursor to active, then Shift A, and then we're going to get a mesh, and we're going to get a circle. And this circle is going to be for a magnet, so that's going to have to be 4.5 millimeters. And this is radius, so 4.5 divided by 2 will get us that. We can switch this back to 32 because it's so small it's not going to matter. And there is the circle that our magnet is going to fit into. We will hit G, Y, drag it down here, G, Z. And then we'll try to get in the center of this area here. So to that end, so grab this vertex here, grab this edge, subdivide, and now that we have that vertex, we can get one of the center vertices. I'm pretty sure it's that one. I'm going to hit L, and let's go to active element for our median, for our pivot point, and try to snap it onto active vertice onto that one right there. Now we can't currently see, but so I'm gonna click shift, left click on that one, then shift click on our circle, or left click on the circle, that'll be easier, and then shift click on that. We go to an edit mode, now we can see, and I already properly aligned it, so that's good. And we can right click on this and dissolve vertice, just to get rid of it without messing with our edges. And so what we'll do now is take our circle, and then we're gonna, wait no, take the knife, go into edit mode, and then control left click on our circle so it's red, and then we're going to go up to mesh, knife project, and then cut through. What that's going to do is cut the circle straight through the knife blade there. And then we can, let me see how wide this needs to be. 1.3. Yeah, really? Hmm. Okay, so let's go 1.3 by extruding. Oop. Okay, have our circle, edge mode, extrude along the y-axis. We'll do 1.3 where our magnet can fit in there. And we'll do the same thing over here. Face mode, got that circle. E. Oh, let's take off snap for a moment. G, Y, and then 1.3. And our magnet should fit nicely in there. And then we will do our knife projection trick on this part as well. So with this one in edit mode, the kind of mid-sheath piece, we'll go over here and control left click on our circle again. And make sure you have this orientation where you hit the Y. That way it's dead on. And I'll show you what happens if you don't. Say it's diagonally. Then we hit knife project, and now we have this going, which is not what we want. We want it straight across. So Control Z, that Y, mesh, knife project, cut through, and that should be good. Now I gotta think about the stopper. How wide is this? Okay, edit mode over here. Let's get rid of these circles. So I'm gonna go in faces mode, then get our circle selector with C. Click on all those. Since we got X-ray on, we got all of them. X, and then only faces. Then we will go into vertices mode, and I'm Alt left clicking, Alt Shift left click, Alt Shift left click, Alt Shift. Actually, circle mode, get rid of those. We can only do one at a time. So in edge mode, I'm going to right click, bridge these edge loops, which connected them. So now we got like a little tunnel going through there. And we will do the same thing. Yeah, same thing over here. Vertices, edge mode, right click, bridge those edge loops. Now we got a circle going all the way through. So we can now put our magnets through here. Did we need to do that? I think that's what we're gonna do down here. I guess it wasn't necessary to do this. This is 2.5. Mm hmm. So if we do stick our magnets in there, I wonder which way would be easier. Because we could stick our magnets through here, but then we'd have to glue them very precisely in place and then print like a little cap so we can't see that. Mm -hmm. Mm, you know, I'm just thinking if I could make a stopper over here, but how would that work exactly? So my first thought is we can take these edge loops and then right click, subdivide, And then the magnet was 1.3 millimeters. So GY, so that'll be 1.3, and then we'll have a stopper back here. And this stopper will have to be a bit wider. So let's take these vertices, subdivide again, and then we'll take these guys. Let's get both of these edge loops, and we'll want to scale them up. Let's go to a median point, and we're going to scale up, but we're going to also hit Shift Y, I think. That way we only scale up on the X and Z axes, leaving the Y out. And we'll create a wider area, because that'll be for our stopper, since the magnet's here, and we'll have a 3D printed bit here. We'll take this edge loop, and we'll snap it over here with GY. Let's get snap back on. GY, snap it up here. That way we'll have our magnet here, and then I have a stopper here so the magnet doesn't try to fall out or anything. And we can put a lot more glue on this area to keep it in place, just with the additional surface area there. So maybe that'll work the way I want, hopefully. Let's see how wide this is here. 0.75. Man, these are such small dimensions. I'm going to enlarge that just a little bit. So with these edges selected, I'm going to hit scale and then shift scale and then shift Y. Yeah, Y, and then I want to enlarge that to 1 millimeter. There. Now it's just a little bit wider. And now we can make a slightly larger stopper for it. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to Alt left click on that and Alt Shift left click to add this. And then I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it. I'm going to hit G, Y to pull it out a little bit. And then we're going to shrink this down just a tiny bit. Let's see, over here, get these two so we can get a nice measurement right there. That's 6.5, so I'm going to turn this into 6. That way it should be able to fit into there as it should. So we don't need this edge anymore. I'm going to make a face with this edge loop here. Just hit F, that's selected, and then how wide is this? Wow. That is going to be almost non-existent when we print this out. Hmm. All right. Okay, I'm a little less sure that this is going to work the way I want to. So imagine trying to pull this tiny, tiny thing off of your print bed, right? Um, hmm. And it has to be nice and flush here, otherwise it's going to maybe bump into that. I mean, we can actually enlarge this at any time, so not too worried. So 1 whole millimeter, and it should actually be a little smaller, but I'm afraid it'll be nearly impossible to rip this thing off the print bed, so I'm going to at least give it the 1 millimeter. And I think we'll just have to widen this out a little, which we're going to do anyway because we need a stopper down there as well. Alright, so with that, let's go ahead and separate this actually. So clicking on any of the vertices, hit L to select everything, and then P, and then separate selection. And we will call this our magnet stopper. Okay, and hopefully it will live up to that name. Alright, so let's do the same thing over here. I'm going to collect all these edges over here, divide once and then twice. Then we're going to move this, was it 1.3 I think? 0.3. Then we're going to enlarge this to about this size. Right? I think so. Oh, we're supposed to enlarge both of these. Boop, boop. Okay, Alt Shift left clicked on those, and then hitting S for scale, and then Shift Y, so we just go along the X and Z. S, Shift Y, and then we'll try to match it to this one. That looks pretty good, and let's go ahead and snap this back over here with G and Y. Make that little stopper, and let's see how wide this is. We may need to adjust it. 6.5, it's close enough. It's close enough. Should be just fine. And then we just put the magnets on either side there. I'm sure we'll need some adjustments once this is printed out. But for now, I think that will work, at least catching the blade when it's projected with those magnets. Now we need some magnets down here. So I'm gonna right click with the blade selected. I'm gonna insert a keyframe onto our timeline here, and then I'll go to another frame and then pull this down to where we want our blade to rest. Where's the, and I think it's this point here. So we will GZ this down. I guess right on top of this is fine. The blade is completely concealed, so that's okay. Doesn't even need to be all that far down. So maybe up here? Hmm. Hmm. It might, it might be best to have it further down, because if you push it in and it doesn't catch up here, then it'll kind of jangle down here, which is not ideal. So yeah, I'm going to put it almost all the way down, and we'll use our magnet cutters. We'll use these. This edge loop, I didn't want that one. Circle select is C, and then I held shift and then left click to deselect that, like so. Circle select, shift D, shift, what was it? Shift left click, yeah. Shift left click to unselect, and I'm going to hold Control Z to undo that. Both of those. Okay. So Shift D to duplicate. We'll bring this out here again. P, separate selection. Now we can use this to cut through this. You know what? Since we do actually have that, we might be able to shave a few seconds off our work by duplicating that bigger circle, then dragging it down here. What was the other one? P, separate selection. Where'd you go? Where did that circle go that we just created? Where did you go? It's not left here. Weird. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. And if we got these two going, do we have those two going? Um, these two are exactly the same, are they not? Yeah, I think they are. So we don't actually need that. Let's get this bigger one. this is the one I wanted. Shift D, G, Y, Shift D to duplicate, G, Y to pull it out just a wee bit. And then we will take this circle, P, separate selection, and then we're going to join it with this one. So I'm going to hit, with one of these selected, I'm going to hit Shift, left click to get both of them, and then Control J. That way they're joined into a single object, and we can use this cutter to make life just a tiny, tiny bit easier. So with these selected, I'm going to go down here. I got the blade selected and our circles that we just made. We're going to go down here because this is about where I think the magnets can go. So with us still on this frame, I'm going to right click and then insert keyframe. That way we have this little animated bit where the blade can go out and in between those keyframes. And so mostly I just wanted it for alignment here. But we can select on our mid sheath thing and then actually don't need to control. But with it selected, control left click on this to turn it red. And then we got to make sure we get this orientation. And then we go up to mesh, knife project, and cut through is already selected. So we got that going. And now we can start making our magnet hole here. Oh yeah, we got to get rid of these faces. So we'll get rid of those. Those X only face. And let's bridge these edge loops. So Alt left click and then Alt Shift left click. Right, and then go into edge mode with 2 and right click bridge edges. And we'll do the same thing over here. Here, going to 2 from was in vertices mode to select those, and then edge mode, right click, bridge those edge loops. And then we will push these inward over here to what was a 1.3. Looks like these are connected. They don't really need to be. Not right now anyway, so I'm going to get rid of these edges by selecting them both with left click and then shift left click, X, and then delete edges. And let's get X-ray mode back on. And we'll do the same over here. I'm going to try to do this symmetrically, so I hopefully don't forget. Actually we want this one. That edge loop, G, Y, Y, 1.3, 3, and let's just get rid of these edges. And then we'll take these circles and we will extrude G, Y, G, Y. And that should be fine. And then we'll click on this one. And so we have these two edge loops, and then we'll go into edge mode, right click, bridge edge loops. And now we have our little stopper holes, just like before. So we'll do that one more time. Selecting this edge loop, I'll go E, then right click, G, Y, and then snap, and collect this edge loop, right click, go into edges mode, right click, and then bridge edge loops. And we have our stoppers. So I'm going to select everything and shift and recalculate those normals just in case. And that should be that at least. So we'll be able to put our magnets back here, so that shouldn't be a problem. Then have that stopper. Hopefully the magnets won't tumble in here, because that would suck. But, I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be okay. So next I think we'll pick up with the next set of magnets, which is going to have to be down here to hold the mid sheath down here into the main sheath. So I think we'll pick up with that in a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break. And we are back with the hidden blade from Assassin's Creed. So where we left off, we were putting all these, actually, I don't need to explain this. For you guys, it's been a second. All right, so moving on, we're gonna go ahead and put some more magnet holes down here so we can get our blade down there. So let's see where this is gonna be. So with the middle sheath part selected, I'm gonna right click and then insert keyframe. And then I'm going to put it over here to 36 keyframe. It doesn't really matter where, but what matters is I'm going to hit G and then Z to push this down here-ish. And let's see where that floor was for this bit. Let's go to X-ray mode, and there that is. Okay. And I believe that was 10 millimeters, 10.2 millimeters. Okay, so getting back to this guy here. Wait, let's get both of them. With the middle sheath selected, I'm going to also shift click on this one just so we can see where it is. And I'm going to click on the middle sheath part and hit L to select the whole thing. That way we can see where we need to stop for this part here. So around here-ish. Put it around there. Let's see how far that is actually. That's 2 millimeters. Don't need that much. Let's put it at 1. So I'm gonna just, with that vertex selected, I hit E to extrude. Now I'm just for measurements, I'm gonna take the middle sheath again, hit, whoop. All right, let's get this one. Hit L on that guy, and it selected the whole thing. That's the wrong one. We want U. There we go. Okay, we have the middle sheath selected, so now I'm going to hit G, and we have snap-on up here. So I'm going to hit G, Z, and put it right on that vertice that we just created. So that is exactly 1 millimeter off the bottom part here. So that gives us a little bit of space. And then we are going to want to put some magnet holes on here. Let's get rid of this for now. I'm going to click on one of these vertices for this round part, and then hit L to select all of it, and then hit H to hide it. And in order to bring that back, you hit Alt H, and then H again to hide. Okay, so we can get rid of that for now. Didn't delete it, just hide it. And well, we're going to use this cutter again to put our holes over here for our magnets. So let's go ahead and select the middle sheath bit, and then also can still see this guy. Okay. Let's take our cutter, G, Y, and just pull it back just a little bit. And then we're going to hit that middle sheath, and then I'm going to hit Shift or hold Shift, left click on this guy so we can get them both. Go into edit mode, so now we can fiddle around with it. So I'm going to hit L on both of these shapes here. And I made the top vertice my active vertice. Holding shift and left clicking, so that's the last one. You can see that it is white, so that is our active vertice. I'm going to hit GZ and go ahead and snap it up here. So it's right along aligning these bits here. So that when the sheath is down, all these magnets should line up, which actually I don't think it's, wait. Actually, that won't work, will it? Because this is gonna block that out of the way, though. Well, you know what we could do? Instead of having magnets over here, we could have them on the side. How does that affect the blade? So that goes from up here to down here. So that shouldn't be a problem. And then this thing, I guess that's what we'll do. We'll put the, but how are we gonna get the magnets in here, though? So we got this whole wall to deal with. I did not consider that. I mean, we could just do an extended version of what we've been doing. Hmm, that'd be really tricky to get it in there, but it would be possible. Hmm. Or, hmm, if we put magnets here connecting these two, then we'd also need to put some magnets up here to connect it there. So when it's deployed, it'll be able to attach to those magnets. Hmm. And I was thinking, since we have magnets on both sides, the alignment would have to be perfect for both of them to catch, and perfection is just not something we can expect from this world. So I was actually thinking maybe we can just have magnets on one side. Would that be strong enough to hold the blade out? Because then if we don't have magnets on the other side, it'll only catch on one side instead of trying to catch on both. Hmm. And also, having magnets on one side would allow us to use the other side for these other holds. So you know what? I guess I'm going to end up getting rid of one side of these magnets, which is unfortunate. That was a lot of work, but guess there's not a whole lot of choice. Now I'm worried if the one magnet is going to be strong enough to hold it, but we won't really know that until we print it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that side. Then I'm going to hit F over here and just put a face on it. If we end up wanting more magnets, we can always create it again. And then I'm going to hit A and Shift N to recalculate the normals, just in case those got screwy. And I guess we're going to have to get rid of these too. So we won't need a magnet here for that, for this blade to be extended like so. But then what about when they're down here? We can have these two magnets and that should be fine. So I think the blade in the middle section should be fine. Now we gotta think about the base in the middle section. So we're gonna need two places for those magnets to catch, one at the top and one at the bottom. So I guess we can still use this one actually. Hmm. And that one will be for the blade. This one will be for the catch over here. And if we put that, actually it needs to be at the bottom, doesn't it? Because if it's projected, then there's no point in having a magnet over here to connect to the base sheath because, well, it's way down there. Okay, okay. Alright, so I guess we can indeed get rid of this one, or at least cover it up for now. I'm going to go ahead and in object mode, I'm going to hide the base sheath, and then we're going to screw with this one a little bit. We're going to go ahead and close it off here and here. Selecting those edge loops when I hit F, or vertice loops in this case. F just to close those off, and then unfortunately we'll also have to get rid of this. So I'm hitting Alt click, Alt left click, and then Alt shift left click to add that. Right click, delete. Okay, I'm going to hit A and Shift N to recalculate those normals again. And so now we're just going to have two magnets on this side over here connecting those two bits together. Okay, so that should solve that problem, I think. So this side does not need to have, wait. Yeah, it does, because the blade still needs this side's magnets. So we won't mess with this guy. We're gonna have to mess around with this other guy over here. All right. All right. So I just came over here to unhide the base sheath. You can click on this little eye here to hide and unhide anything. So we need that back because now instead of on this side, we're going to put these magnet holes on this side. And I wonder if this is thick enough. Let's get a measurement here. So in vertices mode, I'm going to hit this vertice, then hit E, and then Y. And then we're going to snap it over here just to see how wide this is. And that's only 2 millimeters. And how wide is this whole setup? Because we're basically going to need that. That is 2.5 millimeters. So what we could do to extend it a bit is I'm going to turn off X-ray mode to make this part a little easier, and then go into faces mode with 3 on the num strip, and I'm going to left click on that, shift left click, shift left click. Oh yeah, that's it. And then I think we need to go out 0.5 millimeters, so GY, and we're already on 2.01, so we'll go out to, let's just give it, yeah, I guess we'll just go to 5 because that's already kind of measured out and such. Okay, so we just went back just a little bit, and now we're going to knife project. So we're going to click on our base, and then we're going to control left click on our circle or our cutters. Okay, I'm going to call this magnet cutter. Now we know what's over here, so instead of trying to click on it there, which is not letting me do right now, I'm going to go ahead and control left click on this guy. Oh, that's magnet stopper. Magnet cutter. There we go. Oh yeah, actually I have to be in edit mode for this guy, and then magnet cutter, control left click. So got that. Make sure you got this straight on orientation. The reference image is in the way. You can hide it up here. And then we'll use mesh, knife project. Yeah, cut through. It'll cut through the whole thing, but we only need one side, so that's no biggie. Alright, so clicking on this guy, and we're going to go into edit mode. And let's get X-ray mode back. And now we got to make that little space in here, so let's get rid of these faces. And I think also these edge loops here we want to get rid of. Did we want to get rid of this one? No. Wait. Alright, get rid of these two faces. Clicking on those two, X only faces, and then we'll get rid of these edges. X edges. Alright. So now this will be in, actually, let's extrude, right? And then I'm pretty sure we can get these and bridge these edge loops. I'm in edges mode with 2. Got those edge loops, right clicking, bridging edge loops. And I think it was 1.3 and 1.2. Okay, so let's move this to that GY. And let's take off snap just for a moment. And it's what, 1.3 and 1.2. Should be close enough. Right. And then actually we need to reverse this, I think. But then those pegs would have to go in from the inside, which would be difficult to do. So actually we don't need pegs on this side, we just need the magnet to be sticking out. Okay. So in order to get that, we will go ahead and get rid of this edge loop, vertice loop, whatever. And then we will pull this out over here. Let's turn snap back on, GY, snap back on, GY, and we'll snap it over here. And then we can close this off, actually. So I'm going to go into edges mode and select all these guys. Nope, don't want that. Circle select, C, and then shift left click to get rid of anything you don't want, and then right click and subdivide. And the magnet was what? 1.3. So since we just need the magnet over here, let's get this line, or this vertice loop, to 1.3 so our magnet can fit in there. And then we can put a face in there. And yeah, I think we just close this off. So let's get this edge loop here. Right clicking, delete vertices, and then we'll click this one and just put an F or put a face on that. That way we can set a magnet in here from the outside, and then we can, oh, this still needs to be enlarged. That's why I was looking kind of off. And then we can do our plug magnet over here. So these two magnets can connect, and we need to block this off. Do we? Yeah, we do. So let's get this edge loop. I'm going to hit E to extrude, G, Y, and then we're going to G, Y, then we're going to snap it to this guy. Then we're going to get this edge loop, so Alt Shift left click, and then hit 2 for edges mode, right click, bridge edge loops. And now we have our plug on this side. And so those two magnets should connect, which would keep the middle sheath part inward until you flick it out. And so those are good. Did we do the one up here? We did not do the one up here. So I think we need the same thing, but on this point here. So that shouldn't be too hard. Let's get the middle sheath. I'm going to right click, insert keyframe. That way we got a keyframe here, so we can just roll down on the timeline to get it back where it was. Oops. I'm going to hit the arrow. Oh, what did I hit? I think I hit it or something. Okay, and now we need, actually this is too high now. So this should be down around here-ish. But also we got to think of the stoppers. Like we had the stoppers for the blade, we're going to need some stoppers over here to make sure this part doesn't go flying off. So let us consider how we're going to do that. I'm thinking these stoppers will be on this side this time because we have a little bit more room to work with over here. Let's see just how much. On this vertex, I'm going to hit E and then G, X, and then snap it over here. And we have 2.74 millimeters, which isn't a lot, but hopefully it'll be enough. And, and if need be, I think we could shrink this in a little bit. 2.47, wait, this is the base, or, yeah. Are they both 2.47? Yeah, it does appear that way. Alright, So, if we pulled back just a bit, let's grab this whole face here, this inner face. Well, actually, let's go ahead and do the magnet first before I forget, before I get too lost in what I'm doing. So we're gonna grab this G, Z, pull it up here. Let's get this one and go into edit mode. Now we can line it up. So with the circle selected, I'm gonna hit G, and again we got this top one as our active vertex. So G, Z, pop it right on there so everything's lined up real nice. And then we need this one, edit mode, and then control click on that one. And then get this orientation from behind. And then we're going to go into mesh, knife project, cut all the way through. Is that one already cut through? I hope that didn't screw anything up over here. Nah, I don't think it did. Alright, great. Alright, so now we're going to need to Create those magnet holes there. So let's take this. I'm going to hit period on the numpad. Helps us zoom into whatever we're clicked on. And then we're going to hit E. Wait, actually, instead of that, let's go ahead and collect these two. Go into edge mode, right click, bridge edge loops, and then we'll just select all these edges here. Make sure I didn't select anything else. Right click and then subdivide. Okay, and then we can get rid of this area here, deleting those. And then we'll take this, and then we'll extrude GY, right clicked GY, snap it there. Then we'll get this one, go into edges mode, right click, bridge edge loops. And there we should have it more or less. Let me hide this to make sure we actually have our hole. Yep, that's there. Okay, let's hit A, Shift N, recalculate those normals. And I'm going to unhide everything with Alt H. Bring that back so we do now have our magnet hole there. So that should be good, and that should also be good. So we can hopefully latch on. Okay, now we have to work on the stopper. And there's just such little space to work around here. But basically, we need to widen this base just a tiny bit. And then we need to extend this bit so they catch on each other. But actually we need to make the stopper separate so we can slide the base in and then glue our stopper in. Otherwise this part wouldn't fit once the base is enlarged. So I think the first thing we'll do is shrink these walls just a bit. So I'm going to go into faces mode. I'm going to turn off X-ray mode, shift click onto this guy, and then we're going to set our pivot point to median point. It's already there. And what is that? Hmm. Does this not have a hole in it? Hmm. I'm gonna hide this for a moment. There. Oh, that's why. Let's get rid of this face. There we go. Alright, that was confusing me. Alright, let's unhide everything. Alt H. Is it just me, or is this way too wide to fit in here? Hmm. So we put our stoppers on this side, and that should block these. Why is it still so wide over here? Did I forget to do that, or did I not do that for a reason? Let's go ahead and try to shrink this down. Let's get into X-ray mode, make sure I'm not touching anything else. And I'm going to hit S for scale, and then X, and then we'll shrink it down. Since we're a medium point, we got both of those, they'll go towards the middle of each other. And I need to know how much room is over there. So I'm going to hit this vertex, E, Y, well actually G, X, because we extruded with E, and then I went against it by hitting right click, and then I hit G to grab that vertex, and just snapped it to this edge so we can get a measurement of how far we are from that edge. So let's get that GX, I mean SX, and then we got that vertex giving us a measurement over here, and we need at least 0.5 to clear it so these edges aren't rubbing against each other. And does that just make it straight? Oh, the side's going inward actually. That's weird. Okay, so I don't think we need these, is what I'm seeing. So we could just delete these faces. Let's see. Okay, so we got these guys floating around. Oh, actually, we needed those out there. Hmm. Okay. How do I want to do this? I don't think we need these guys anymore. Those are just measurements. And I think we're going to have to redo these faces. So I'm just going to get rid of those edges entirely. Oop, so wrong one. This one. X, edges gone. Now we can subdivide these twice. Once, twice. That didn't give these vertices, right? No, no, this should be fine. And then we will snap these here with G, Y, G, Y, and you'll see Y in a moment. G, Y, G, Y. And now we should be able to push this inward here, and we'll use auto merge. And we'll go into options for auto merge, set the threshold to 0.1. That should let us get close enough. Off, and then in vertices mode, I'm going to G, Y this over, no, G, X over here. That way all these vertices merge. That's why we created those. And get the face over here, vertices mode. Let's make this one our active. G, X, and there we go. And those all merge. So now we just need to close up these faces. So we definitely need those. And we have a face over here, so that should be good now. Hit A, Shift N, A for select all, and then Shift N to recalculate those normals. Okay, so now we've given ourselves a tiny bit more wiggle room. Might actually need more, but we did give ourselves something. Okay, so now that should be good. Right, so the blade, so then it'll get stuck here. That should be fine. Okay, so now this part, let's get over here. That actually had nothing to do with it, but it'll be better for us in the end. Let's just trust in that. Okay, so now we want to make our stoppers on this side, but moving this over is not going to give us much room. See, even if it's only 2 millimeters or close to it. Let's get this side as well. Actually, you know what? We should get to the faces. These inside faces for these two. Because if we just move that, then only that section is going to be affected. So let's see, with median point as our pivot point, I'm going to hit S, X, and then scale it out just a bit to 0.2. And looking at my calipers, 2 millimeters is super, super thin. But I think our printers can do it. I will believe. I will choose to believe. Alright, so now we know how to create these stoppers for this one. So I'm going to start with this side. And let's get these edges here selected on the outsides, and then right click, subdivide. And now I want to bring this edge loop that we just created down here with GZ. And why did it do that? because it's passing these magnet points. Hmm. Let's go ahead and hide the main base here. And that was messing with those. Hmm. So I don't think, you know what, I'm gonna undo with Control Z. Maybe we didn't need it to go all the way around. So what we're gonna do is subdivide one at a time. Subdivide here, then subdivide here, and that'll prevent that center point from being an issue and interfering with our magnet holes there. So I'm gonna GZ, head back down, and then we'll create our little extension bits, our little stoppers. Say we'll make them 2 millimeters wide. And then we will stick them out with these two faces selected. We still got medium point on. So I'm going to hit E to extrude. I'm going to right click, hit S for scale, and then S so we can just pull these out just a bit. And let's say 1 millimeter. And let's see, I'm going to GZ on the object itself, the middle sheath button, sheath thingy, and then we'll see how much room we have. So we can still fit in there. And we need at least 0.5 millimeters of clearance between these two bits. Let's see if we got that. E, right click G, X, so we can see, and it looks like we do have that clearance, so we can fit in there. It'll be tight, but I think we can manage. I don't think we can pull off much more from these sides and still keep it structurally sound. 0.5. Oh, what was it? 1 millimeter. Checking on my calipers again. That is not a lot at all. I would like a tiny bit more room if we could manage it. But where can we cut anything off? Because right now it'll fit, but I'm afraid it's going to scrape the sides, so there's going to be that friction. And I'd like it to be nice and loose, so it comes out and retracts nice and fluidly. So I think with those two faces selected, we're gonna SX to scale it down just a tiny bit more. Let's say 0.6. Because since it's both sides, it should be fine. It should be fine. I hope it's fine. Okay. So now we're going to make those stoppers that we're going to glue in place here. So I'm going to take this edge here, 16 millimeters, Shift D to duplicate it, and GZ to bring it up just a little bit. And how much room was there between these two? First thing, I'm going to scale it down by 1 millimeter. Maybe a little more than 1 millimeter. Say 14.5 is okay. That should fit nice and snug in there. Then, oh yeah, let's get this and this. Actually, this edge that we're making needs to be its own object. So with that selected, I'm going to hit P, separate selection. Now it's its own thing. And then we're going to shift click with that selected. I'm going to shift click on this object. Now we're just making a little measuring tool. So I'm going to hit E, X, and snap it onto that point. So that is 1.5 millimeters. Oh my goodness. This is basically going to be point 0.5 millimeters wide here. Oh boy. See, the problem is going to be actually printing something that's literally one layer and then gluing it into place, which is possible, I think. Oh, mercy. Because we need zero point 0.5 millimeters of clearance on either side so this actually fits in there. Hmm. Alright, let's give it a try. Say 0.5 millimeters. Take this face E. I'll bring it up just a wee bit. And how far in is this gonna be? It's gonna be GZ around there. That seems kind of deep. That should be fine. Let's extend this a bit, and we'll go into X-ray mode. And we don't need that measurement anymore, so I'm going to delete that. Just head down here. And where's that edge? Let me get the stopper again and this part. And with that part selected, we can see that this can go all the way down there. Which it kind of needs to do in order to stop it at the right location. So that's going to be 21.4 millimeters and only 0.5 millimeters thick. Well, that's why it's going to be a prototype. We'll probably have to make some edits next time, but we'll just print these two on opposite sides and then glue them in once this part's in, and then glue those in. That way it doesn't pop out. And I think that'll be okay. So let's call this base stopper so we know what's what. And we can separate this circular bit. Let's Alt-H to unhide this whole thing. L, I'm going to hit P, separate selection. Then we will call this, the boss. And we name that the base, the mid, the blade, then the blade stopper, and then we have the base stopper, right? Base stopper, yeah. And I think that's it for the parts that need to move. Now, I'm not going to worry about the strap yet. I think I want to test print this and see if it needs some more work, which it probably will. So I'll get that printed and see what happens. Alright, so after our first prototype print, we did encounter some issues. First off, this set of magnets up here was the only ones that actually worked really well. The other ones didn't seem to hold at all. And even this one, because there's only one, generated a sort of pivot point, which caused the blade to kind of wobble in place. And I think we can solve that pretty easily just by adding another magnet right next to it. So what I'm going to do is click on those two. Left click on that one, shift left click on this one, and then we'll hit tab to go into edit mode. And we still don't need those. And let's go ahead and get rid of these guys up here. This one, and this one. Okay, and we're just gonna X and get rid of the edges. And then we're gonna move all of this over just a bit. So let's select those again, cosplay again. Don't need those, so C, circle select, and then shift, hold shift, and then left click to get rid of that selection. And since we want these to align properly, let's move this over. No, I'm going to shift D and then move it over. That way we have the other one ready. And we could look at the top to see how far over it's going to go. So let's say, come move it all the way over here. Maybe 6 millimeters, or as close to that as we can get. And then I'm going to click on these and hit L. Oop. We have merge still on, and I think it did merge. Alright, so we got to do that a little bit. Again, GX, moving it over. Again, 6 millimeters. About. And then let's click on these guys again, and then GX, move it over another. Okay. GX. Okay, so I'm not sure how that calculates, but it doesn't really matter as long as they are close. As long as the two align, right? Yeah, we'll put it over here. That should be fine. And then we need to close up these faces again, so I'm going to go ahead and hide this one so we can work on this one. And just to make this a little easier, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I am going to get this edge in edge mode 2. Shift click on this one, right click, subdivide, and then I'm going to take these two vertices that we just made, hit F to put an edge between them, and then I'm going to get this edge and drag it up, GZ, and then we can go ahead and shift, or alt left click on this, alt left click on this, shift click on this, let's get rid of these two, and that should give us, with another alt shift click on those, we should be able to just hit F to generate a face there. Oh yeah, we got rid of that face too. Alright. And because of that, we'll have to do the subdivision over on this interface as well. Right click, subdivide, and we'll grab these two vertices just like the last ones. G, Z, get them up there. And then we'll make a face in here by connecting these two. Then we'll connect these and these. And we'll grab this edge loop, or this outer edge loop. There we go. This other edge loop, those vertices here. And then we will get rid of these bottom ones. And hit F to create that face. We'll do similarly with that alt left click to get these. Let's do this in edge mode so we don't accidentally get these other edges in there, and F. So now we got a face. Turn off X-ray mode and we got that face. Now we gotta get it on the inside as well. So we can get these two, connect them, and it doesn't matter which ones you get really. Well, it kind of does a little bit so they don't intercept each other, but you don't have to get the same ones I am. And let's get these edge loops, and then these vertices, and then get rid of these bottom ones. And hit F. Now we made our face, and now we should, this is the part that gets tricky, getting into these little spaces here. So we got these. Let's get this one and this one. Then come all the way up and and get the leftovers over here. And, oh wait, actually need to put that edge here. Here, and then we can get those. And then F to put a face on that, and then we'll Alt left click on that one to collect all of those. Did we get all the ones at the bottom? I don't think we did. Yeah, let's get these. F. And now we got faces on that. So with those two magnets, hopefully it should hold, and the blade shouldn't jiggle because we got two of them. Let's go ahead and fill out the blade just like we did the mid there. And we just got to put a face over here. And so I'm going to get these, attach there, and collect these edge loops, these vertices. I'll get rid of these bottom ones. Face, and Alt left click, like those, go into edge mode, get rid of that one, and then F, and we got that. And I think the bottom one opened up. So yeah, let's just collect all of those edges, F, and the blade should be good now. And now we can actually start shaping the blade a bit if we wanted to. So it has kind of a midsection there. How do I want to do that? Um, hmm. Hmm. And it looks like it might have some kind of filigree, but it's so small we can't really see it. I think we'll just keep it plain, at least for now. So in order to create that middle point, let's go ahead and get this edge, and this edge, since we're going to do it on both sides. And unfortunately we can't mirror it because it is different. So I'm going to right click, subdivide. Now we have these vertices. And then I'm going to try to connect it to the topmost one. It looks like there's two actually up here. So let's, in X-ray mode, I'm going to click on both of these edges, hit period, zoom in on what we're working with, and then I'm going to subdivide to create that center point. And then we will attach it to this vertex that we just made. And we'll do the same thing over here. I think that's the center one, right? Yeah. And let's go ahead and get rid of these faces because we are going to make some new ones. So that's both those faces gone. And let's see. Need to know how many vertices this is on one side. Boop, boop. Let's get rid of this one too. And that one too. So down here we can see that it's 23 vertices. So hopefully by subdividing this edge 23 times, we should be able to bridge those edge loops. Hopefully. So let's select those two edges. And I deselected these two. And right click, bridge edge loops, and that actually went pretty well. That actually look kind of weird when we print it though. But we'll take a look at that later. We can always fix things later. So let's do the same thing over here. These, deselecting these, right clicking, bridge edge loops. We got that going, very nice. And we can do the same thing over here. Right click, subdivide 23. And then we'll click these edges, deselecting, Deselecting this side and this one. Oop, this one. Let's deselect all of those. Right-clicking, bridge edge loop, and then do the same over here. Deselect, and deselect. Right-click, bridge edge loop. That works. So I'm going to hit A for select all, and then Shift N to recalculate the normals just in case. And now we can try to make our kind of bladey shape. I don't want it too sharp, but we can at least move these edges around just a little bit. So I'm going to get down here, and we're not going to touch these at the base, or anything down here for this one. And then making sure we're at pivot point, median point, we're going to hit S for scale, and then Y to use the Y-axis, and then we're going to pull this in just a bit. And there's still, let's say 2.5 millimeters down here, because we don't need a sharp edge. I just kind of want this diagonally bit, so it looks a little more blade-like. We seem to have missed some pieces up here. Where are they? Period on the numpad. Zoom into the thing that I'm working on. Oh, okay. Easy enough. G, Y with those vertices selected. G, Y. And we'll suck those in. Mm, hmm. Okay, so that's a little awkward, but we can fix that. Let's, I think we just need to select, no, I'm gonna Control Z to undo what we just did up here, because we can actually use this to our advantage. So I'm gonna very carefully select all these vertices, and then I'm going to make this bottom one our active one by shift left clicking twice on it to unclick and then re-click. And then I'm going to change our pivot point to active element. And since that bottom one is our active one, when we hit R to rotate, we get this. It's rotating based on that active vertice. So we can then move this inward like so, which is about there. That way we get this nice slant going. So I think that looks decent. Decently blady. So let's do the same thing over here. Don't need any of these. Boop. And then we'll get this bottom one. Or, wait. Did we get this bottom one? Or did we start over there? I don't remember. I'm going to double click on that to set it as the active vertice, and I accidentally stuck that. Don't need it. Let's get this orientation over here. Hit R, and holding Shift to make it a bit more accurate when we're moving things about here. That's decent. That's decent. Like I mentioned, we're not making a real blade here, just something that has the general look. And I think the blade is done. I don't think there's, unless we want to put that filigree on there, but I don't think that's necessary. Okay, so we got this. This should all be good now. Now we got to think about this part. So I think the biggest problem was that the magnets didn't stick out far enough to actually connect the pieces. So, and I think because these magnets have to hold a lot more weight, since the blade only has to hold itself, that's not too bad, and those little magnets will work just fine. But I'm thinking maybe these other areas need larger magnets because they're going to need to hold not only the sheath part but the blade on top of it. So maybe I'm going to upgrade to my my second smallest magnets. Let me check the hole size for those. 6.5 by 2.3. I'm gonna forget that in a second, but I think we will have to upgrade to those. And, thinking if we should double up like up here as well. If we do double up, we might not even need the upgrade because the two magnets might be strong enough to hold it. Hmm, that might be something to test, and I definitely want the magnets to poke out a bit more because I don't feel they were connecting too well. So let's give that a try. Okay, so this side, pretty sure is the side that connects down here. Yeah, because that's the only side that has those holes. Okay, so I think that should be fine. That's 1.3. Let me go back and check. 0.3, the magnets are 1.7, so that should stick out a little bit. And then this one is also 1.3. Hmm. I'm thinking maybe we push this out a bit. Push both of them out a bit. Maybe 1.15. And then we'll do that up here as well. So in X-ray mode and vertices mode, grabbing all these guys, G, Y, and then just pulling along with the mouse. Boop. That way when we stick the magnets in here, they stick out just a bit more, hopefully connecting with their opposites. And since we did enlarge that just a tiny bit, 1.36, I think we need to correct the stoppers as well. What do we call those? Magnet stoppers? Let's get over here. Yeah. And I ended up making some more of these. So let's go ahead and get all of them. Because they all need to be enlarged by that little bit. So it was 1.36. 0.36, right? I think that'll do it. Yeah. Alright, that's what we got now. Now I need to delete these keyframes down here. I think that would cause an issue because I saved them before we enlarged them, so if they moved along the timeline, they would shrink back down. But now they should remain at the current length of 1.36. So that should be good. Oop, what is this? Is this another one? This is the blade stopper. Oh, yeah. That doesn't need to be changed. I think that's good. Actually, so I was noticing that the blade would sometimes get stuck behind those. So I have two potential solutions. One would be just make them longer so the blade can't get behind them. And then the other was to make them slanted so the blade would just slide up. But if we made them longer, it would block these magnet holes. So I think we're just going to go with the slanting idea. So blade stoppers. And I guess we have two of them? Yeah. Okay, so we'll do both at the same time. And all I wanted to do here is click this vertex. Then we'll just move it up. Um, hmm, hmm. Let's just say 2 millimeters up here. That way when the blade pushes past it, it'll slide back and go down the center more. Because before it was just getting banging into that flat area and wouldn't come out sometimes. So that should guide it towards the center. And we need to get rid of these keyframes as well. And if you didn't put them, you don't have to worry about that. Alright, so that should be that. And then we gotta consider what we're gonna do about these. The blades should be fine, right? Oh, I think we have to double these as well. So we doubled the other ones. Okay. So, how do I want to do this? Alright, let's collect all these vertices here. And, wait, we need to get rid of all these connection points. Okay, I think that's all of them. And then, we'll gather them all up. And we'll make the topmost one our active. And we can't really see that one, but we will move it over here. Looks like it's still connected. Oh, yeah, that. Anything else connected? Nah, should be good. Okay. Let's get rid of these edge links so we can see what we're doing a little better. So with that one selected, we want it to snap over to this one, which is a little tricky to see. G, X, and that should be good. And then we'll Shift D to duplicate, G, X again. Shift it over there, so they should be perfectly aligned. The Z-axis doesn't matter too much here, because the magnets will just grab it anyway. So that should be good. And now we need to seal off these faces. So I'm going to hide the blade with H. And then, yeah, we can do that subdivision thing here again, or not. Let's connect these two. Like that. Get that interface first, right? Where's the other one? Yeah, should be okay. And we'll get another one over here. Oop. This one, and connect it to that one. And then we'll collect these with Alt left click and then Alt Shift left click to add to it. And then get these vertices, and then we'll go ahead and go back in X-ray mode and hit C to get our circle select and hold Shift to drag it over and deselect all of those. F to add the face, and let's Alt left click on one of these vertices or edges and then hit face again. That seals that up. And then we do similarly to the outer face. And get these two, F. And let's get X-ray mode off. Boop. F, selecting the vertices, we'll deselect these top vertices and get those, and in this case these as well, and hit F, seal that up, and Alt left click on that, and that should include all those, F. Alright, so that should do that for the blade. Now we have to consider making two of these over here as well. Oop. Let's hide our reference for now. And I wonder why these faces aren't connected. With these two edge loops, I'm going to right click and then bridge edge loops. And then we're going to want to, we could use these as our guide. Put them exactly in the same position. GX for this one. Pop it over there. Shift D to duplicate. GX. Pop it over there. Okay, so now they are perfectly aligned. And I guess we can go ahead and get rid of this. So we're going to have to redo this back face anyway. And it does not actually go all the way through. So we should be able to just make a face up here. And we can get rid of this one as well. Because this is just going to be a big rectangle. F on that. And then we could just leave that there. That's not going to interfere with anything. And let's connect these two. Connect those. And then we'll gather these up, deselecting these top guys, and selecting these. F, Alt, left click, and hit that, and go into edges mode, deselect this. We could just make it a flat face, but it's fine, it's fine. Okay, so now we have two down here, and those are going to have to go onto the base. There it is. Okay, so from here, let's drag this down a bit. And that might have actually been the problem. Because these magnets weren't connecting, but I think they weren't because I had those stoppers in here, so that didn't actually go all the way back up to connect. So if we go into X-ray mode, where are those stoppers? I think this is them. And let's get both of them and go ahead and get rid of the keyframes. I had them down there so I can flatten them all on the same plane. So when I printed them, I just printed all the stoppers and stuff together. But we don't need that now. Okay, so this will be up here. And so the magnet or the part couldn't go further than that. Magnet hole should have aligned right there, right? But it refused to do so. Let's check how wide that is. That is 1.3. So like the other one, I think I'm going to shorten this just a bit, just so those magnets stick out a little further. So I'm going to go to 1.15. And then I think I'm going to do the same thing over here. So let's pull this on. Oh, this one's already done. I guess we did that earlier. And this one is also, yeah. Okay, so those were pulled out. And we also did the stoppers already. So hopefully the magnets will stick out a bit more and make a better connection. Maybe these were not the issue I thought they were. Why did I make them so long? Having trouble remembering. But we could make them a little shorter to make absolutely sure they're not blocking anything. So I'm just going to take it up to, I can't really see, but say 18 millimeters. Should be alright. Oh, It's the other blocker. And we can also take that one up 18 millimeters too. Two 18 millimeters. Oh wait, they're the same. Okay, and now let's put some more magnets down here. So we duplicated them up here. Now we got to do it on this part. So let's turn off X-ray mode, and we'll get rid of these edges here, and then these as well, side and outside, and we'll do the same to this one. And can actually maybe let's get this top one and make it our active, and then we'll do same over here by just hitting L, hovering over that, and let's get rid of edge links. So this is still our active element, and we will drag it over here with G X so we can line them up. Yeah. Then I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate, GX, and we'll put that one over here, snapping it, and that should do for both of them. Okay, now we just got to close these up again. So I'm going to get on these and Shift D, not Shift D, right click, subdivide. Let's subdivide twice. Save ourselves a step. Let's get these that we just created and move them down here. Make that a little easier. That. Oh, and we need to do the inside ones too, don't we? So that one, this is the outside one. So that was the inside ones. Now we got to do the outside ones. Or do we? Hmm. Okay, I think these will correspond with that. And then these ones are their own thing. So we could, oops, hit F to fill that face, and then we'll do the inside ones first. So let's go ahead and connect. I hit period on the numpad, zoom back out, hit F on those. Where's the inside parts? I think there. And over here, same. Get these. X-ray mode, C circle select, and holding shift to get rid of those. And let's click on these, F, and then these. And those should be a face, right? Yeah. I think we're doing good here, and let's get the bottom ones now. F. We can put them down here. Problem. F. Selecting all these. Then X-ray mode, deselect these guys. F. Then let's get all of these. And seal that face. Okay. So that's the inner faces. Now we gotta do the outer faces. Oh, this is somewhat tedious. Period. F. This one. And this one. Now we get these. Circle select. Deselect those. F. selecting all those. We already got those. F. All right, now the bottom. Vertices mode. F. F. Those two selected. F. Let's clear out these. F and F. Okay. All right. Now we have two magnets. Hopefully they're sticking out far enough. And I think this is the point where we can print and do another test. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll be back with the results. This is the second parts test for the Assassin's Creed Hidden Blade. We doubled up our magnet since the first one, and that's got all the parts held in, and the blade comes out pretty good. Doesn't sink back in unless you want it to. So yeah, it's coming along. Still have some work to do, but we are getting there. So after we printed out the second parts test, I think most of it's working pretty good. I did want to adjust the magnets a bit. Some of them I hit with a heat gun to kind of press them into a more comfortable position. And now that I'm thinking about it, I can't even remember what exactly that was about. I got poo brain. All right, well, since those mechanics and stuff were working pretty well, in order to print the various blockers and these little caps, I put them all on the same plane so I can print them all at the same time. That's why they're over here. And let's see. So the next thing we're going to do, since everything seems to be working fairly well, is to kind of decorate it. I also want to round out a lot of these edges because they are pointy and uncomfortable. So I'm going to go into edit mode for this base. We'll start here. And let's go ahead and grab up all these edges. That might be an issue because if we bevel, actually it's fine. It's fine. All right. And we're going to grab up all these outer edges here. So I'm left clicking and then holding shift and left clicking on these and these. And we don't need, well, I actually want to give this a bit more severe of a bevel. So for the ones we have right now, I just want to round the corners so they're not as pokey. Maybe these two. Like anything that's going to be touching the skin, I'd like to round out just to make the whole thing a bit more comfortable. Right click with those selected in edge mode, and then I'm going to go bevel edges, and then we'll move around our mouse, and then I'll roll up on the mouse wheel to get more beveling, or roll down to get less. And we want a fair bit. So let's round that out like that. That should be pretty good. Oh, that does not look awesome, but we can take care of that in a second. Okay, everything else looks fine. This got a little weird. But we'll take all of these edges up here. I'm in vertices mode right now, and I'm hitting left click to select, and then Alt Shift left click to click on all these, and then Shift left click to get these loose ones over here. Still got these, so Alt Shift left click to add those, and then Shift left click to manually click that one. I think that's it. All right, so to push these back up where we wanted them, let's go ahead and active element is our pivot point, and I'll make this one with holding shift and left clicking to make this our active element. And then I'm going to hit S for scale, Z, and then 0. That way everything's put back on the same plane. And we have some very close vertices here that I don't think we need. So what I'm going to do is turn auto merge on, and in the last video I think we put it down to zero point 0.1 millimeters. So I'm going to hit G on this one to grab it and then snap it right over here. And this one's kind of loose. I think this was a measuring one, so we don't even need that. Right click, delete. And this one was also a measuring tool. Right click, delete. And the other ones should not have that. And then let's go ahead and, wait, which way did we go with this one? I think we just merged this one, so I'm going to grab here with G, stick it on there, because we got auto merge on, grab, and I think this one can merge there. Alright, so that should be fine. Um, Now we want to make a more severe bevel over here, because this looks kind of awkward the way there's this flat area and then it just juts out here. So I'm thinking we could kind of angle this a bit more to line up better with the midpoint here. Let's get all these edges. Those, make sure we got those. Okay, these diagonals might be a problem, but I'm going to right click and bevel. Oh, no, actually okay. This is actually more of a problem. So I think we're going to have to get rid of these vertices because they're kind of in the way. Well, you know what we could do is just merge them with this over there. And that'll move them a bit more out of the way for now. And then we can grab these outer ones again. Okay, and now switching back to edge mode with 2. And then I'm going to right click, bevel edge, and because we don't want this too thin to the point that the 3D printers are going to have a hard time actually printing it. Let me see. That is, but we still want to kind of taper it off. So I think we can go a bit more severe. Say 0.5. I think will do. So we got 0.5 there. And then we'll take these, everything around here. Then we'll go ahead and drag that down with GZ to make it a bit more sharp. Hopefully we are not detrimentally affecting things. And just because I don't like this sharp edge, I think I'm going to bevel it as well. Just a little bit. Maybe 4. Just a little roundness there. That should be okay. So I've been printing these with this face on the bed. So it's been printing up like a tower. That way we don't have to worry about printing any supports on the inside. I think that's about all we can really do for that. And hopefully that's not interfering with the insides. I don't think it is. So let's then start on rounding this portion. So I'm going to grab all these guys in edge mode. And that's all of them. Let's go ahead and hide this bottom piece though with H. And you don't actually see this since this stays inside the bit. Actually, let's see exactly where that is. So this goes down to goes down to here. And we'll turn that into our new keyframe. That way we got it going down and up. Okay. And so since we're down here, we don't need to bevel anything above that, which is useful. So with those selected, don't need these top ones over here then. So I'm going to right click, subdivide, create this awkward little plane, and then I'm going to flatten it with SZ numpad 0 and enter, and then GZ to bring it down here. And we'll put it almost right on top of our magnet holes. That should do. And then let's get these guys again. And this time we'll need these. And hopefully these won't be a problem, but we will see. I'm going to turn off auto merge and x-ray mode. And let's see how this bevels for us. Yeah, it's doing that thing where it goes down, but we already know how to fix that. I'm trying to think, is this going to screw up any of our stoppers or anything of that nature? I don't think it will, because they're all the way down there, and it's not projecting anything, so that should not affect us at all. So I'm going to Control Z, because I want to add a little more beveling to it, now that we know it's not screwing anything up. I'm going to try that again, maybe a little more bevel. I think that's okay. Now I'm going to go into vertices mode with 1. I'm going to hit C to get our circle selected. I'm going to hold Shift, left click to get rid of these because we just want this top area. Get rid of those two. And I think we already have everything on top. So we're going to do that trick again. I'm going to make this one our active because this is the plane we want to use. I'm going to hit SZ numpad 0 to flatten all these and bring them back up. And yeah, we're going to need to merge these. So I'm going to take this guy, merge it over there. Oh, yeah, auto merge. Otherwise, they're not merging. So auto merge. And these two are measuring, so we can delete those. Let's take this one, auto merge there. Take this one, auto merge. This one, auto merge. All right. So I think we're going to do the same thing that we did down there, just kind of taper this top a bit. So I'm going to select all these. I'm in edge mode, and I'm hitting left click to start selecting, or what was it? Left click to start selecting, and then Alt Shift left click to get the rest of these. There we go. And then we're going to right click, bevel, and we're going to reduce it to just, ooh. I think we have unmerged, yeah. An unmerged vertice over here. There. Let's check these other ones. If that one needed it, yeah. This one also need. You good? Yeah, you good. You good? No, you no good. Merge. It's fine. And merge. Yeah, alright. So that should be that. So now I'm going to select those edges again. And we're going to, in edges mode, right click, bevel edge, and we roll down to just get one, so we got this diagonal. I think these might be too close to each. Wait. No? is, oh, they're, oh, that's probably it. Auto merge is causing them to merge. Like, yeah, that's his whole purpose. Hmm, hmm. How can we get closer? Hmm, hmm. Well, one thing we could do is get rid of these faces and manually put some in. So I'm gonna hit X, only faces, then I'm gonna hit these two edges, F, 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 hmm. That would be too sharp though, because if we slant it down like I intended to here, that'd be way too sharp. We need to give at least, say, 0.5 millimeters, I think. So I'm gonna Alt Z, and maybe even go all the way back. Wait, no, no. Let's go back before we did this. S, and maybe we can create subdivisions on all these guys. Right-clicking, subdivide. There we go. Okay, this can work. And we have median point. Let's set our pivot point to median point. And then S to scale, and then we'll go inward. That's pretty good. I'm going to hit G, Y to align this more in a cardinal direction there. And I'm going to do the same for all these other ones. There is a method to my madness. G, G, Y. Snap it over there. G, Y. Then click on all these edges again. And I want 0.5 over here. Right? And then we'll take these two edges, and since median point's still selected, I'm going to hit S and Y scale along the Y-axis, then push this to 5. That way we still have this 5 millimeter rim going around here. So when we do this next part, it shouldn't be that bad. How many are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to subdivide this 5 times. And let's see if this will work. I'm going to delete this face, click on these, collect all these edges, get rid of the two connecting edges, and then right-click Bridge Edge Loops, and that worked just fine. Good, good, good. Okay, let's get rid of all these faces then. Subdivide these guys 5 times. Clicking on these edge loops, circle select with C, shift click to get rid of that, right click bridge edge loops. Circle select, right click, bridge edge loops. Alt left click, Alt shift left click, circle select, shift left click to get rid of those, right click, and bridge edge loops. Okay, so that worked out. And we'll get all of these edges. And now we'll be able to bring them down a bit. Bring them down about here-ish. It's not a lot. I don't like that we can't really go past those, unfortunately. I'm going to actually bring it up a little bit because I want a bevel. I do like my bevel. There. It's pretty smooth. And I don't think we're going to worry about beveling that point. That should be fine. That should be fine. And I think the blade is already pretty good. I mean, you could make it sharper if you wanted to. I don't think that's necessary. I do kind of want to bevel these edges though. So I'm going to collect all those. I'm going to go to X-ray mode, and I don't want these. I'll just worry about the blade edges. And let's right click. But, oh, it's not picking these. Oh, let's turn off X-ray mode so we can see a little clearer. Um, that's, I remember doing that. Wonder if that's going to be a problem. Let's see. Let's see, get real close up. Where are we? There we go. Yeah. Looks like that's all we're gonna be able to do, unfortunately. Mmm, but a little bevel's better than no bevel. And we still got our nice point. Um, hmm. Oop. Ended up beveling some stuff down here unnecessarily. Looks like we still had some edges selected down here. Let's get rid of all those. And we will do that again. We will do that again. So I've got to get really close because these are such tiny, tiny pieces here. Bevel. And honestly, probably won't even notice it, but I don't want to do that anyway. And then, actually, I kind of want to draw this out a bit more because we can see it now, but it would be cool to see it a little more clearly. I'm thinking maybe we can draw it out here. Mm-mm. So let's see. Median point is still selected. Let's see. I'm gonna hit S for scale and then Y for the Y-axis. And we're gonna draw this out a bit more to the edge there, just to make this diamond kind of profile a little more prominent. So I do like that. And we're going to deselect this side. We already did this type of thing before, but we're going to need to slant it down again. So going into vertices mode, I'm going to make this base our active. And then I think we're just going to eyeball this. I'm going to hit R for rotate, and then I'm going to hold shift, and then drag the mouse over until it's right on top of that one. And that should give us a slightly more pronounced diamond profile there. Alright, so let's do the same on the other side. Get rid of these with our circle select and holding shift, left clicking over these. And let's go ahead and make this one our active this time. Our X view there. And once more R, holding shift to get a more accurate measurement there. And that should be fine. Yeah, it should look pretty good. Oh, right. There's that diagonal in here. Do we care that much? So I already did all this beveling stuff. And if we do that, it might be kind of awkward. You know what? That's the only one that has it. So I'm not going to worry about it. This is our own custom piece here. Hmm. I wonder if we should do anything to decorate this. You know what? I'm going to take a break. Maybe start doing the decorations next time. Alright, so this should be the last video outside of any minor corrections we might need to make. So what we're going to do now is add some details to our craft and also add the loops for our straps. Need at least, I guess, two of those, and I'm thinking I'm going to use Velcro, but we could get some tiny leather belts. I was looking on Amazon, and it does seem like they have some nice thin belts that might be useful for that. But let's go ahead and get started. First thing I think I'm going to do is do those belts or those straps. So I'm thinking loops on the sides should be just fine. Mm, on these areas, that might be a little tricky. So maybe down here, because this one looks like it's behind this disc bit. So I'm not sure if I want to go back that far. Um, see if we can hit G, Z, move this up, and maybe just put it over here. And then the other ones can go over here, closer to the wrist. I think that's what I'll want to do. Let's check, because we need about 29 millimeters for them and for these Velcro strips. So let's get these two edges here. I'm in edge mode, and I'm going to right click, subdivide, and then we will E to extrude. Oh, actually, before we extrude, let's go ahead and subdivide this again since we don't need the whole thing. Subdivide one more time, and we will extend this to about 28 millimeters. And that'll give plenty of room for the Velcro strip to get in here. And we'll hit E to extrude, and then X to drag it out a bit. And it really doesn't need much room. Let me go ahead and measure how thick this is. It's not thick at all. 2 millimeters. But we want it to be nice and strong, so I'm thinking maybe 6. Let's go up to maybe 7 or 8. So I'd like to give it a little extra room, not only for strength. Oh yeah, but if this is 28 total, then we're actually going to need a little bit more just so we have some sides to work with, which is going to push this thing up kind of a ways, unfortunately. We could still have this. We could just shrink it down so it fits a little better. That shouldn't be a problem. So, we have 28. Let's go up to 34? 28. That way we have 3 millimeters on either side of our hole that I'm going to make. I think through here. And how do I want to do this? So I'm gonna Shift D to duplicate. Well, actually, we only need this face, so let's just click on that faces mode. Shift D to duplicate, and then I'm just gonna shrink this guy down a bit. Let's go medium point's fine, and shrink that to the 28 millimeters that I wanted. And then we can GY, and snap is still on, so GX actually, and we'll put it right over here. This seems a bit thin. I think we'll take it out just a little bit more. Clicking on this face and then hit GX, And then we'll drag it out. Let's see, it's about 7, so I'm going to put it at 8. Let's get a little closer. And there we go. Okay. Okay, so then we'll take this guy, G, Y, and then I'm going to hit P, separate selection, and you know, yeah, I'm definitely going to want to bevel this, get rid of these edges. So I'm going to select all these edges, right click, and then bevel the edges. Oh, never mind. Bevel the vertices. Bevel vertices. There we go. That's what we want. And we'll just round that out a little bit. And then we will do the same over here. Now let's collect all these edges. Any part that might click, contact your skin, we'd like to round out just a bit. Let's bevel those down. Just a bit. Just a bit. And then with this one selected, we don't need all, but I just hit A and selected all. And then we'll control left click on this guy, making it red with the main thing in edit mode. Let's go up to mesh, knife project, and then let's cut through. So now we should have a nice hole that goes all the way through. Don't worry about that. Let's hit X and then only face to delete those faces. And then we will bridge these edge loops together. This one here. Hopefully those are the ones we need. Right click, bridge edge loops, and there we go. Have one loop over here. Should serve pretty well. So I just feel a little sharp. You know what? I'm going to Control Z and undo all the way back to that point. Fine, we're going to do this first. And for that, let's move it just a little bit so we can avoid those lines over there. I'm going to worry about those. And back into edit mode with this guy, and then control left click here, making that red. And then we'll get this orientation, mesh, knife project, cut through again. And we got that going. So let's get rid of these faces. And then we'll collect these edges. And in edge mode, right click, bridge edge loops. There. Okay, now we'll go ahead and bevel these edges. Come around and nice to contact bevel edges. And that should be okay. Hopefully that's strong enough to at least hold it to your wrist. That should be alright. And I do believe these are symmetrical now. So instead of doing this basically 4 times, I'm going to get rid of this. So I don't think we're ever going to need that. We're not going to ever go back to that step. And this one too, that was on the inside. And now we need to create some faces for the holes we just made. So I just Alt left clicked on this one and hit F, put a face in there, and then Alt left click on this outside one, put a face in there. And now let's go into X-ray mode, and we'll take all of these edges in here. Oh, right. Let's hide this little boss, and let's get rid of these as well. Right click vertices, get our circle select with C, right click, delete vertices. And this seems to have lost its wall, which is interesting. Let's create that. E on this vertex over here, and we'll snap it over here. Then we'll collect these two edges. F for face. Oh, what happened? And we have this edge selected here. And we should be able to go down here and collect these vertices and hit F to generate the face there, but hold on a second, we actually need those holes there, don't we? Let's get this vertice, E to extrude, and then right-clicked, G, Y, or G, X, put that over there, and now we can generate a face over here. No, not quite yet. 'Cause that's all one face, and that should be fine, right? Yeah, that should be fine. It's just these that are a little off. So let's get these. And the very corners over here. And I think that's them. Let's make sure, yeah. That looks good. Okay. And then we need a face over here. Inside here. I guess we can operate in there. Kinda tight quarters, but it'll do. And now we can put a face over here on this midsection here, and now we just got to worry about this one. Okay, let's go ahead and hide that face with H, because that is getting annoying. And yeah, so let's get these vertices, circle select with C, shift, left click, and then dragging it across. Need that one. This vertex and this vertex, and that'll create that face. And then we can alt left click on that edge loop to collect all of those. Not this one though. And now let's get the top ones. So F, and that should be faces that we need. Alt H to unhide. And then we also need to create a face here. So we needed to correct the model just a bit there, even though I've printed this out twice now, and that didn't seem to be an issue, but oh well. What happened here? Oh dear. I'm gonna hit Control Z and figure out where that went. Okay, that got erased really late in the game there. And I'm trying to undo, let's redo all that, and I guess we're just gonna have to make another one. That's unfortunate. That just vanished. Okay, well, with these edges selected, oh, this edge disappeared. Gosh, this whole section just vanished. That is awkward. Let's recreate this. And this. Now we can create that. Okay, I think we just came out here. Let's subdivide this. So get our new vertex. We'll go up here and create a face out of these. And we can subdivide here. That I think is already lined up. Subdivide and How long is this? There's this guy just kind of sitting out here, and I think we can get rid of that. Okay. E on this guy, GZ, snap it over here. Now we have this measurement, 2.95. So we will try to get the same measurement above here, subdividing that, taking the vertice GZ, putting it up, snapping it up to this top vertice here, so we can get this measurement, be 2.95. Can't see it. 2.95. Alright, so those will be symmetrical. And then we'll take these two edges, we'll hit E, and then GX, stretch it out a bit, close that face off. Must have hit the wrong key at the wrong time, I guess. But, oh well. See, this is 6.17, and I think we wanted that to be 8. So we'll pull that out to about, let's turn off snap for a sec. GX, and then we'll go back to 8. Close enough. Okay. Alright, so let's close up this face. And I don't need that anymore. Now we just need to close up these faces here. Hit F there. F there. Actually, those are different. So we Control Z to undo, and then F on that one. And then F on this one as well. And then we'll take these. Take these. Circle select, get rid of these. And hit F, fill in that face. And then Alt, left click, fill in those faces as well. And do the same thing over here. Face. F for face. And I'm just going to select these vertices this time. With our circle select. And F. And Alt, left click. Edge mode. Get rid of that one. And that should be everything. So we're back to that. Now we can bevel this once more. Let's right click on edges mode, bevel edges. Oh, it's on bridge edge loops, never mind. Right click, bevel edges, there we go. And that one's moving up for some reason. Oh, that doesn't need to be selected. This one, there we go. Alright, there we go. Edges nice and round. Okay, okay, wow. Alright. Now we can take these edges at long last. Take these, all these central edges here, because we're going to subdivide them. Oh gosh, are you kidding? What is this? What is this? Why are you there? Oh, what is that? Let's turn off X-ray mode, hide that, hide that. Seem to be missing this piece. Why is this vertex not connected here? Okay, easily fixed. Subdivide here. Then we'll take this, snap it. Oh yeah, let's put Auto merge on, get snap back on, just like that. Now with these two selected, we should be able to make a face there. Okay, and there seem to be some... Okay, that's back here, so I don't think that's important. Yeah, okay, no biggie. No big problem. Okay, we're going to select all these central edges, making sure to get that one in between those two circles. Got all those. Right, now we can subdivide. Should create line right down the middle. And we're going to go into vertices mode, select one of these central vertices. Then we're going to go over to select and then side of active. So we're selecting one side. We want the other side actually. So instead of positive, we'll go to negative. So we want those. And then we're going to go back to select and invert selection. So it'll select everything outside of that. Right click, delete vertices. So now we have half. And then we're going to go to modifiers over here, add modifier, generate, and mirror. And now we have that. So now we got those loopies on both sides. Now we can focus on making the second loopies over here. Alright, so we'll basically want this to be the same. Let's go ahead and subdivide, I guess, everything over here, like so. And then we'll want this to be, what is it? 33.9. So 33.9, okay. And then let's see how far this extends with E, right click G, X, and we'll snap it over here, and that goes 8 millimeters, I remember. Okay, let's do that. E, extrude with E, and then we will go to 8 millimeters, about there. And I guess we can go ahead and bevel. This, no, that's fine. That's fine. That looked diagonal for some reason. Alright, let's imitate the bevel over here. Bevel edge. Yeah, that might be a little bit much. You know what, let's go ahead and get this first. Make that hole like we did before. So I'm gonna shift D to duplicate rather than try to align that one. So we might need to put it back. So I'm gonna put this right in here. Oop. Take snap off and get you in there. There, that's about center. I'm not going to worry too much about precision there. So get into edit mode with this guy and then control left click with this guy. Get this alignment, mesh, knife support, knife project. Get all the way through. Now we can worry about those bevels. Collecting these edges, right click, bevel edges. And, oop, forgot that edge. Anybody else? I think that's all of them. Bevel pretty nicely. Let's get these two faces, X, only face, deleted. And now we'll click on these. Go into 2 with edge mode, or edge mode with 2, and then bridge those edge loops, and now we got our loopies. Okay, okay. So that is that. I don't think we're gonna need these anymore, because now we can just use those. Alright, so those are our edge loops. Now we can make some little decorations here, like these little creases that I don't think serve any purpose, but they make it look cool. So, with that boss, probably gonna be up here-ish. Maybe we can scale it down. Let's right click, set origin to geometry, so it centers in there, and then we'll scale this down just a little bit so we can have the strap over here, not blocking it over here. And then we'll create some lines. It seems like there's a diagonal and some other bits here. There's this. So you know what? Let's get... Oh, right. Since it's only half, and this line pattern does seem asymmetrical, let's go ahead and generate this. So in modifiers, we go to the modifier and the mirror modifier, and then we're going to hit apply. That way we actually get the two sides. It's not really mirrored anymore. But let's go ahead and come up here. I'm gonna Shift D on this vertex to duplicate it, G as Z to bring it up a bit, and then, you know what, I'm gonna extrude using the X-axis, bring it over just a bit. Let's say this is 2 millimeters wide, so that's 1, E, G, G, X to get it another millimeter. And then we'll go ahead and dissolve this one. And we'll use this to create our pattern. So I'm going to hit P, separate selection. Then in tab, I'm going to go ahead and click on that in object mode and drag it out just a bit with G and Y. And then we're going to extrude with that selected in vertices mode. And extrude it like so. So now we have that central line there, more or less. And that seems to terminate up here-ish, or at least on ours it will. And there's these probably kind of a rectangular shape over here. So we can do that. Let's subdivide twice, no, 4 times. We need 4 vertices for this one. So I think our pivot point is still median, yeah? So S with scale will drive that down. And I guess this will be... This is 2, right? So this will be 1 millimeter wide. That's not going to be much, but it should still show on our print. So let's scale this down too as well to 1 millimeter. And I think this would be down here. And this one is probably more over here, like so. Then we'll extrude with those with E, G, X, and get it over here. And let's say that's just 8 millimeters. Close enough. And we'll subdivide this one, these two, and then we'll get those, drag it over, and make this to 1 millimeter as well. And that'll be that little pattern. We don't need this face here. I don't think we need any of the faces actually. Just those edges. And then let's make this kind of diagonally bit here that shoots off. So with this being 2 millimeters, let's go ahead and extrude downward with that vertice 2 millimeters, just to keep it that wide. And then we'll take it across with E, and then right clicked, and then G, X. Let's turn snap back on, GX. And now we'll take these and we'll go out a little bit with E, EX. And how far is that? It's been no, it's not as far as this one, right? So then we'll hit E and kind of take it off to a diagonally direction. And we really don't know where that goes from there. So that'll probably be enough. Thinking maybe we should hide it behind this boss? Or nah. So we could just snap it over to this edge. That doesn't look bad or anything. I'm going to close that with F. And I wonder if there should be anything back here, because with the boss kind of pushed up, this place, oh, well, the strap will go over that, so I guess it doesn't matter. Uh, hmm, 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 hmm. You know what might be nice? I think this is maybe a screw hole or something like that, and we could potentially put that on there. Just for the hells of it. Um, hmm. So let's take this since we want it centrally located. I'm going to right click, subdivide. What? I wonder what kind of screw heads they had back then. Was it still plus and minus or was it something else? Or maybe that's more like a pinhole to help hold things on? Mm, you know what? We could just put that as a little recess. I mean, that wouldn't be terrible. So I'm going to hit E and GZ to carry it down. Then I'm going to hit F3, and then we're going to say cursor to active. That'll put our cursor there, so when we hit Shift A and bring up a circle, its central point will be right there. And let's say the radius is 2, or maybe 1.5, so we have a 3 millimeter circle. And then we'll rotate with R on the x-axis, so R and then X, and then holding Control, right, we'll get a 90-degree turn. Oops. Hit period on the numpad to zoom in on what I'm working on. That should be good. And just because it seems a little naked, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna Shift D to duplicate. I'm gonna put some more these little pinholes over here. Shift D, and then with our 3D cursor as our new pivot point, I'm gonna right click and then mirror vertices over the x-axis. That way we get some over here as well. Then I Shift D again, and I'm gonna put some over here. And let's even put some at the top. Like over here. And then I'm gonna mirror this, global, whoop, Shift D to duplicate. Ooh, are we missing some? What happened? Those all have their oh, you're missing one too. Somehow I didn't select those, huh? Okay. Well, we have them now. Shift D on those, GZ to bring them up. And hopefully, oh, it didn't select it again. That was close. Tricky, tricky. Shift D, put it up here. Let's turn off snap for a second. That maybe over there. Shift D, and then we'll right click, mirror along the X, and now we got them over there as well. Make sure we're not missing any. Seems okay this time. I feel like we should do something else here. Oh, but honestly, the strap's gonna cover it, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Alright, so now we're going to do a knife project again. So with the main part selected, going into edit mode, and then control left click on our decorations, and mesh knife project. And this time we do not cut all the way through. Now we have our lines over here. What happened? It didn't quite project over there. So let's try to recalculate our normals, just in case that helps any. And check this out. Why you do that? Let's go into mesh, clean up, make sure there aren't any doubles. There aren't. Let's try that again. So tab, with this in edit mode, control left click. Let's go to mesh, knife project again, and it's doing it again. We can manually do this because it's deciding it doesn't want to. Let's subdivide. Unfortunate. See, let's get this down. I think that's 2 millimeters. That's it exactly. F between those two. And let's get rid of this face. Let's go ahead and hide our decoration now. Make sure it's on there. So we got our circles, we got our lines mostly, and we got our other circles. Okay, so now we just got to get some faces on here. Selecting these vertices. And that should be an F for the face. Wait, we didn't want that. Okay. With these edges selected, let's hit F to generate our face there. And then let's generate some faces in between these points. Don't need this edge. Okay, so let's collect all of our faces now. I mean, all of our vertices that we just put on here. Wait, we do need the faces, right? And that's out there. That is this face. Let's put a face over here. And this needs to be a face. So collecting those edges, hit F. Okay, so that should do. Let's go ahead and collect these faces then. These as well. And then we should be able to extrude a little bit inward with E. Hit E to extrude and then right clicked and then G, Y, so we can get these faces to go in. And let's say that's 1 millimeter. Close enough. So now we got some little pinholes, we got that whole decoration thing going. And I think it's time for another test print, because that's all I really wanted to do, unless we want to do anything for this middle piece here. Let's see, there is some stuff going on here. Can't toy with it too much. You know what, we'll just keep it plain for now. We can always add more decoration later. I'm going to go ahead and test print this out, see what we got. Given this works, this may be the final print for the Assassin's Creed Hidden Blade. Not bad. Magnets are holding it out, and it's pretty safe since the magnets aren't very strong. It'll go right back in. Not bad. Since the last print, things are going pretty good, I think. I did want to make a couple of minor changes. That would be with these caps. I think they need to be shrunk a little bit. I'm going to hide this for a minute so we can get all of these. And I think maybe we can widen these because right now I'm stacking like two, maybe three of them on top of each. I'm not sure if I should, if I want to keep that or not, because every printer is going to be a little different, so it might be good to just stack them on there and glue them in. I think we'll keep those, but I definitely want to shrink these a bit. I think they're sticking out just a tiny bit, and I think we could make the whole process a bit smoother if we take them down. So let's see, where are we now? So 136, maybe we'll go down to 1 millimeter. So I'm going to take all of these, is G, Z, and just take it down just to 1 millimeter. Where is this? Because this is crazy thin. That's 0.5. So we'll try this. I think that'll help. Was there anything else that might actually be all? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I also wanted to... Where are those magnets? Let me get mid back. These magnet holes down here. I wanted to increase their depth just a tiny bit. You know, this one also has those that I think are exactly the same. 1.3, 1 point, actually a little different. I wonder why. Let's just go ahead and get these and say GY, and then we will take them back to 1.5. And where are these guys? So we're taking the ones on the blade. I think these, where are they? 1.3. I think maybe 1.5. I feel like these are actually good. So maybe 1.4. And we'll put these at 1.4 too, just to test where they are. See if this is going to give us some better results. Minor changes, but every bit gets us closer to perfection. So we'll go ahead and give this another print. Alright, so after the latest print, I noticed a few issues we could take care of. Also, I noticed when I put this up here to print it with all the bits that this did not have a face at the back end, so I just selected these vertices and then hit F to fill in that face, so that should not be a problem for anyone. Let's see, there's issues with both the blade and the base. So with the blade, it seems that this bit here is rubbing up against the mid part, causing some friction, so the blade's having a little trouble getting out. So what we're gonna do is, I was thinking we can shrink that, but then we'd have to go in. Well, actually, this is separate, isn't it? Hit period to zoom in. Yeah, it's sticking out kind of weirdly. Maybe that's the problem. Alright, easy fix. Let's collect all these vertices here. Here, we don't need the other side. We're going to do that separately. So I'm going to hit X-ray mode, and then I'm going to hold Shift, left click. Oops. What was it? Yeah, Control. We'll drag, left click drag to select all those, and then we're going to make this our active. Oop. I'm going to hold Shift and double click on that. So it's the one that's in white, so that's the active one, and making sure we're on active for our pivot point. And go down here and hit R for rotate, and then X for the X-axis. So now we got this going and swinging on that pivot point that we just made. And we're going to take this in a little bit because it was actually sticking out. That's why it was rubbing. And let's see. What is this face looking like? Yeah, that should be better. Alright, doing the same thing over here. These guys. Let's control left click drag to get rid of those. Then we make our top point, our pivot point, and then we are going to rotate x-axis and take it in a bit as well. Around here, the diamond pattern might not be as prominent, but I think the functionality is more important. And I noticed this was kind of dipped down too, so we can just pull this up a little bit with a GZ. And that should be it for the blade. Now for the base, these magnets are kind of rubbing up against the mid, so it's having a hard time sliding back up and down. These parts aren't a problem because the mid's already there, so they're already pushing, but this lip down here is bumping against the magnets and giving it a hard time. So what we're going to do is pull this out just a little bit. So we're going to take, let's get our circle select with C, left clicking to get all of these. And then we're going to go circle select, hold shift, and deselect those. And what we're going to do is pull this back with a G, Y. We're going to go back. Maybe 115. Actually, Control Z back to here. We don't want to pull these out also. So we basically just want the magnets to not stick out so far. But what we were doing before was like adjusting the whole wall, and we don't want to do that. So let's pull that back over a couple of fractions of a millimeter. Hopefully we'll do it. And then what we'll need to do is take some of these and make those also as small, otherwise they will kind of stick out. It's going to be fractions of a millimeter to the point that I don't think the human eye will be able to notice. So you know what, maybe we'll just sand those down if they stick out any. I mean, they're sticking out here, so it really shouldn't matter. There's no sliding parts back there. That should be alright. And also, I wanted to thicken these walls up for the straps. So what we're going to do there is collect all of these. And you know what, we can do this side too. Circle select with C, and we'll collect these edges here. And then we'll go G, X, and pull that in, because we really don't need all that much room, but we do need strength. So let's say 1.5 millimeters. See how that is. Let's do the same over here. I'm holding shift and left click dragging. And GX and 1.5 there. That should be considerably thicker. I think that's it. I'm going to give this another reprint, see what we get. Those last few fixes really did the trick. Everything seems to be working as intended at long last. If you don't feel like modeling or would like to support the channel, you can download the STL files for this prop as well as currently 40 other fun props over on my Patreon. There, supporters get the files as well as instructions on how to make each and every one of my 3D printable props. And an extra special thanks to M. John Simon, a real hero of the channel, supporting at the hero tier. fan tier is also much appreciated, but supporter tier nets you the STL files and instructions for all of my props. Once more, I have been Ken with Kenjutsu, and I am out.